What do you do if you wish you weren't asexual? Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So recently I've gotten a lot of emails and DMs, private messages to Ace Dad Advice, kind of revolving around a similar theme. This theme of, I wish I was an ace, what can I do about that? People are expressing feeling isolated from the community and from the people around them. They're expressing that they feel like they don't have a lot of hope and they don't know what to do about that. And some people just very straightforwardly saying, I wish I was an ace. What do I do? And since I got so many of those, I thought it would be important to talk a bit about that and explore some ideas on how we can combat those feelings. So before we start, I want to do just a little thought experiment. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just stop being ace. Right now, just stop being ace. Turn it off for just a second. Not successful, right? Of course not. Being asexual is something that we can't just choose to wash away. We can't choose to turn it off. We really only have two choices when we are ace. We can either A, push against the reality of our lives and cause even more friction for ourselves, or we can make some peace with it, live happily with it, and learn to be ace in the world in a way that empowers us. Now, I fall, of course, on the side of B, making peace with it and living your best ace life. So look, I know that it's perfectly normal to have feelings of negativity around asexuality and to feel isolated, to feel like you're losing hope, to feel like you don't want to be ace. The world is designed to make us feel that way. All of those big normative forces like allonormativity, compulsory sexuality, all of the demands and pressures people who don't understand asexuality put on us, push us in the direction of not liking that asexual part of ourselves. The world often makes us feel like being ace means being broken, and that doesn't feel great. So you're not failing because you're feeling this way. You're not failing because sometimes you want to not be ace. That's what the world wants you to feel. That's what the world is intending for you to feel, because the world wants you to be allo. The world wants you to do what it wants you to do and be in the relationship it wants you to be in and be a part of society the way it expects you to. And being ace is none of those things. So it's natural to feel negative feelings around your asexuality. The world is designed that way. Don't beat yourself up about it. But something we can do is recognize that all of that negativity, those are outside forces. They're things outside of us that are pushing in on us and nudging us and prodding us and encouraging us to not like ourselves. It's external. That stuff is outside. And what we can do is make a real effort to not bring those ideas into us and internalize them. We can work really hard to not agree with those outside forces. We can push them away and push back against them and say, no, like, yeah, you're making me feel bad, but I recognize that you're not telling the truth. We can work really hard not to internalize them. And that's a very important step, not to internalize the negative external ideas in the world that make asexuality seem bad. And that brings us to like the first strategy that we can create. We have to build up a powerful, positive voice within us to combat the negative voice outside of us. So when we are feeling really down and we are feeling a lot of negative thoughts about our own asexuality, we need to turn to something to combat it. We have to have some kind of tool, right? So what we can do is create an opposing voice that counters those ideas. And we can do that by constructing this wall of positivity around us. We can surround ourselves with asexual creators on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram who are positively depicting asexuality. We can surround ourselves with positive representations of asexuality in books that we like or TV shows that we enjoy. We can support ace artists who are drawing positive representations of ace people. We can look into the world and find those ace voices that are saying positive things and surround ourselves with them. And even on a smaller scale, we can just leave little notes to ourselves with reminders to be proud of ourselves or reminders not to internalize negativity about our aceness. Leave them in places. Leave Post-its on your computer, in a book, on your refrigerator, on your bathroom mirror. Leave reminders and affirmations to yourself in places. Hang out with people who affirm you. Surround yourself with this protective wall, this other voice of positivity that will combat that negative external force. And that can go a long way to making sure you don't succumb to these feelings of isolation, loneliness, or feeling like you don't want to be ace. So another thing that we can do, which I think is really important, is lean into hope. So I think there's a particular kind of optimism that can be very helpful for us when we're combating negative feelings. It's a sort of like hard-won, scrappy hope that's a little bit Pollyanna, but also a little bit aware of the world as it is. So when I first came out as ace, I went through a period of time that was pretty dark. I was filled with a lot of hopelessness. I felt isolated. I felt like my options were being taken away. I felt like I didn't want to be ace because if I was asexual, then I would be losing some of the possibilities that would be open to me otherwise. I didn't have a lot of hope when I first recognized I was asexual, and it really was a challenging time for me. But with some help with the people around me and with some help of a therapist, as I was lucky enough to be able to have access to and afford it, I was able to work through that and find a kind of hope that really worked for me and a kind of optimism that continues to help me today. So when things are hard, and I mean like especially when things are difficult, I think it's really important for us to move through the world believing that things we want are still possible. It might not feel that way, but we have to still find some way to believe it. We have to believe it's possible to be ace the way we want to. We have to believe it's possible to find a community even though we're ace. It's possible to find the relationships we want even though we're ace. It's possible to live an awesome ace life no matter what the world tells us. We have to believe in our options and our own possibilities because the world doesn't. Is that overly optimistic? Maybe. Probably it's overly optimistic. But I feel like, what's the option? The option is letting the world that believes all this negative stuff about us be right. And who wants that? We don't want the world to be right. I don't want to prove the world right. I think it is more viable to have a crazy kind of optimism than it is to let the world be right about my limited options and possibilities as an ace person. So I think it's really important, even when it's very hard and we are being consumed by insecurity and doubt, we still have to chase what we want and chase what we believe is possible. We have to take action toward it. We have to move toward it. We have to chase the relationships we want. We have to build the community. We have to teach people about being ace. We go for the life that we want to have, regardless of what the world says about it. We have to chase the thing that may be impossible. We have to ask for it anyway. The moves in that direction may not always work out for us, but at least we moved, right? At least we moved toward what we want. That's important. The moving is what's important. We can't get stuck in these feelings that can overwhelm us. Sometimes I think the most powerful thing we can do as asexual people is believe that we deserve our place in the world. Our most powerful action is believing we deserve our existence. That not only changes the way we move through the world, but it demonstrates to other people that that kind of attitude is possible. It demonstrates to other people that there's another path instead of doubt and isolation and loneliness and wishing you weren't ace. There's a path toward being okay. There's a path toward living that best ace life. So like I get that none of this is sort of like practical step checklist advice for you to do this, and more of just sort of a pep talk and an encouragement talk, but sometimes I think that's a very useful thing, right? Just to be reminded that you can do it. We can make that together, and we should. So don't get stuck wishing you weren't asexual. Stand up for yourself because you deserve that. Your asexuality and who you are in the world as an ace person is valid and wonderful and necessary. We need you. So fight the good fight, move toward your possibilities, and be kind to yourself most of all.